Hello and welcome to Crucible of Words for more dedicated legacy action. Today I've got a bit of a brew for you that I've made here. So I played some Infect the other day and I couldn't help but think, I wonder what other colours can do with Infect. Because we have Ignoble Hierarch, which kind of is the flip side of Noble Hierarch, and there's some pretty good JUND Infecty guys. So this is what I came up with. So we've got this pile, which is our Infect creatures. So we've got Glistener Elf, Plague Stinger, Phyrexian Crusader. So Plague Stinger has evasion, not quite as good as Blighted Agent's evasion, but it's still pretty good and it can block in a pinch. But this is mostly going to be like our Blighted Agent replacement. Now Phyrexian Crusader is a new wrinkle that the other Infect decks don't really get to play. So protection from red and white kind of means protection from removal, because it's also black, so it doesn't get hit by Snuff Out. So it's pretty much going to be immune to removal. And it doesn't have protection from green, so we can use our pump spells on it, which is kind of our plan. Also, being a 3-drop means it's something we can cast off of our Noble Hierarch. So, because we're in JUND, I say JUND, if you're looking here, they're all black-green cards in the main deck. But we're saying JUND because we'll get to Sideboard in a bit. So, because we don't get things like Daze and Force of Will, we have to have other disruptions. So this is our disruption suite. So we've got 2 Duress, 4 Thoughtseize. So we've got 6 ways of messing with our opponent's hand. Then we've got 5 removal spells, 2 Fatal Push, and 3 Abrupt Decay. I went back and forth on which way round the 3-2 split should be on these, but I figured 3 Abrupt Decay means that we free up a little bit of space in the sideboard by doing that. So that's kind of what I've gone for there, so we can kind of play like a mid-rangey-ish game, like get some creatures out of the way, and then sort of come in with our big boy. And because Phyrexian Crusader has First Strike, it usually wins in combat because it hits them for 2 and puts 2/1 counters on it. And if you need to, you can also pump and stuff. So that's kind of where I was going with that. Then we have the pump spell slot. So any 2 different pump spells here are lethal, right? So if we play Scale Up into Berserk, that's loads of damage. Invigorate Scale Up, that makes 10. Berserk Invigorate, that gives plus 10. So all of these things sort of work together. Now, double Invigorate or double Berserk doesn't really do it, and neither does double Scale Up. But if we get 2 different ones, we should be fine. That's the sort of pump suite. That's the pump suite I played in the Bant deck that the actual proper Infect players came up with, and it seems to make sense to me. This last slot here, this last section of the deck, is sort of the utility things that help the world go round. So we don't get Ponder and we don't get Brainstorm. We do get Sylvan Library. This card is very potent and lets you dig quite nicely, and we've got a bunch of fetch lands to help make more use of this too. And we have the Ignoble Hierarch because this will pump our guys that are attacking, just like Noble Hierarch does in Bant Infect, but it also means that we can cast things like Phyrexian Crusader ahead of curve, or play around dazes, or multi-spell, that sort of thing. So that's what we're going for. Quick chat about the mana base. We're pretty Bayou heavy. We do have a swamp and a forest. We don't have any red sources that don't also produce one of our other colours. So we've got 1 Badlands and 1 Taiga as our red sources. And then we've got a whole bunch of fetch lands. We've got 4 Catacombs, 2 Wooded Foothills, and 3 Bloodstained Mire. So we're going to be able to shuffle from our Sylvan Library a fair bit there is the idea. And we're going to sort of build your own Brainstorm with Sylvan Library, which can also draw us cards, which is a pretty nice upside. So these 2 red sources we have here, as well as the 4 Ignoble Hierarchs, they are pretty much just to cast this Pyroblast from the sideboard. Now this is how we're going to try and force through some of the blue decks. Obviously Discard's going to help there, but Pyroblast is just going to be really useful. It also blows up things like Murktide Regent, which is one of the big creatures that's in a colour that we can't necessarily deal with, that we can get rid of. Then we've got some pretty big hammers to smash other decks with. So, Leyline in the Void, the biggest, toughest graveyard hate you can find. This is what we're running. Then we've got Plague Engineer, 4 of these, because if our opponent's got lots of little itty-bitty guys that are going to get in our way, that's going to be pretty annoying. And I figured we may as well just win the Elf matchup. I think Elves has been on the rise lately, so I wanted this. This can also get rid of Thoughtseize to make it easier for us to swing through. So maybe this is overkill, but I just want to be able to board into stuff and win, because our main deck might be a little bit shaky because it's a bit of a brew. So you've just got these big pieces that say we're going to win this matchup kind of thing from the board. We have 1 more Duress in case we would like the 7th discard spell. This is also going to be what we're using against combo. The Pyroblast is going to be good against some combos. Now Collector Ouphe is also going to be good for combo, because what this does is shuts down all the mana rocks in the Storm decks. But also it lets us play against 8 cast and things like that. So it's kind of going to have a decent chunk of utility in matchups. I've been liking Collector Ouphe more and more lately, especially with Painter on the rise and 8-cast being the second most played deck, I think, at the moment. So this is what we've gone for, and I just also forgot to mention that we have Inkmoth Nexus. So we do have the same threat base as regular Ban Infect, but we also have 4 Crusaders, which kind of plugs the gap of not having Brainstorms and things, and also Crusader is just like the best Infect creature, pound for pound, really, because it does an awful lot. So that's what we're working with here. Bit of a brew, not really sure how it's going to pan out, but we're definitely going to get somebody at some point in this league, and you never know, there might be something in here. A few little things I'll also like to say. There is a new 3-mana 4/4 trample toxic guy that proliferates. So that guy is probably worth playing in something like this, if you can sort of fit it in. So maybe we might want to look at that as a thing. So we have 2 different things we can ramp into with our Ignoble Hierarch. But I thought I'd stick with the cards that I was more familiar with, the tried and tested. And obviously pump spells with toxic stuff is pretty bad, but with these things it's very good. So that's where I've landed on this one. I hope I've sort of explained my reasoning of why these cards are here. Alright, before we jump into a league, let me just say, like, comment, subscribe. These things are free for you to do, and they help me out. If you want to do things that aren't free, you can become a member of the channel. You can give me super thanks button or whatever, and you can sign up in the higher tier of membership and submit decks for me to play. Alright, boring plug over and done with. Let's play some Legacy with this JUND, more or less green-black Infect deck. We're into round 1, we're on the play, and we've opened up a hand that doesn't cast our spells. This is a little bit annoying. This is the Bayou. This hand looks great. I don't think we can just play Thoughtseize and hope to draw into a source. I think we do need to mulligan here. Let's be disciplined. The mulligan rules are pretty good these days. So we can play this game off of basics. We can Thoughtseize our opponent, play a Plague Stinger, scale up, and kill our opponent. So we can kill this. I think we probably, if we're putting a card back, we probably put back 1 scale up. It's either 1 scale up or 1 Plague Stinger, but a single removal spell kind of blows this out a little bit. So we're going to put back a scale up. Alright, so let's play this out. Our opponent's probably not going to know what we're playing until we play our Plague Stinger, because hand's a bit of a... Our deck's a bit of an interesting one. Alright, so we got this Thoughtseize coming. What have we got here? Natural Order, Plow, Teferi. So they got a Dryad Arbor, so they can work towards the Plow line. Work towards the Natural Order line, which I think just beats us, unless we can find another discard spell. We can take 1 Plow and just let them plow 2 guys, but then they bounce with the Teferi, and then they could just Natural Order off of the Dryad Arbor. So we're in what I would describe as a bit of a bind here. This is tough. I don't realistically think we can work through these Swords to Plowshares. 2 of them is a lot. If we find a Phyrexian Knight guy, Crusader, we can probably do alright here. The Natural Order will definitely beat us in time. Maybe we just take the Natural Order and try and find ourselves a Crusader. We're going to probably just let our Plague Stingers die here. They might not want to waste removal on a Plague Stinger. They might try and wait till we pump so we can get a few little Infect in to make our life easier later on. Let's see. We've got Fatal Push. So this isn't going to be the most useful thing in the world. Are they going to snap a Plow into turn? Because they got 2, I feel they might, but we didn't take 1, so maybe they'll save it for something bigger and see this as bait. I don't know. Okay, so we're just getting plowed. Sure. We could have also run Cavern in this deck, but I think having the fetch land mana base is just going to be better for us because we're trying to cast things like Scale Up. I didn't mention that in the deck tech, but that's kind of important. Okay, so I play this Misty Rainforest, and they got the Snow-Covered Plains out. Sure. So we can bolt the bird if we want to, or we can play this Plague Stinger whilst they're holding mana up. I think we just hit the bird here. We are very much behind, but Sylvan Library would certainly turn things around for us. Next turn we're looking at Teferi coming down, which is going to be a little bit annoying. Okay, we'll play this one out in the hope that it gets plowed, and then we can play the Plague Stinger. They'll bounce the Plague Stinger, then we'll play it again. Sure, here's a Teferi. They might just bounce the Hierarch here. Sure. Okay, so we can duress our opponent. See what they're working with. We know they've got a plow here. Brainstorm, Minsk and Boo. So they don't have red mana yet. Do I want to take the plow and just see if we can get there next turn? I don't hate that as a strategy. It's a bit annoying we don't have another mana here. But next time we play the Plague Stinger, the turn after we can scale up and Invigorate, and then that's lethal. We do need to survive some stuff here. Yeah, so they're brainstorming, so they're not playing a Minsc and Boo this turn. But they might be able to put this Uro into play. Or find some more removal. But we couldn't take them off Brainstorm because they had 2. I think taking the removal and give them something they're trying to fish for is the right play here. This looks like we're going to get an Uro. That's my guess here. Sure. I'm going to put a land in off this or not. They did put in a land, sure. I have to imagine these 2 cards are still in our opponent's hand because they're very good cards. Okay, so we have an Inkmoth Nexus. We have a Plague Stinger. It attacks. There's attacks to Ferry, keeps it down, so it's going to take longer for it to do its thing. And bounce our guy. Alright. So if they kill our Plague Stinger, we can still try and kill them next turn. If they kill both of our guys, we can still try and kill them next turn. So I think we're in a reasonable spot here. Now, our opponent's got a grip full of cards, which is not ideal. And we do have to do all of our stuff at sorcery speed because of the Teferi. But if they tap out for like a Minsc and Boo here, they could like Minsc and Boo, throw this at our Plague Stinger or something. That's a reasonable play. Right, so this is going to be the Brainstorm, so they're digging for a removal spell. The Teferi is a little bit annoying because it kind of means they get the last word on whatever we do. 3 cards in hand. If they deploy the Minsc and Boo here, then I think we're okay. Depending on what mana they leave up, I guess. If they leave up the plains, then we're kind of at the mercy of our opponent's deck a little bit. But we've worked through 2 plows. Teferi does mean that Prismatic Ending works, so the Inkmoth Nexus is safer against the Prismatic Ending. So this is interesting. We can just try and kill the Teferi this turn. Or if we want to go all in, we should go all in on an Inkmoth Nexus here. Because the Inkmoth Nexus can't be Prismatic Endinged. I'm just trying to think what this mana represents. To me, I would say the Endurance is something for us to watch out for. I think we're just going to try and kill Teferi here. We get the Exalted here. Feels like our... No, they don't have Endurance. Interesting. Right, let's play out another one of these guys. And pass. So we can actually spread out our pumps across multiple creatures next turn. We lose the Hierarch pump, but we'll still be able to come in for potentially like 5 or 6 poison, even if they kill one of our guys. What is this end of turn? Oh, just an end of turn natural order. Sure. So this is going to get an Atraxa. If we attack with it, wouldn't be great. Okay, Progenitus. That's bad because they have Minsc and Boo in hand, right? They're going to attack us for 10, and then they're going to Minsc and Boo us. Yeah, that's not great. Maybe we should have gone for it last turn. Unless they've shuffled away the Minsc and Boo here. That's a possibility. The Dryad Arbor. Let's see if they've got it. Get red source, deploy the Boo. Looks like that's what's going to happen. Sure. I assume they will see this line and just kill us. And a sacrifice creature. Which ones are going to be? The Progenitus. Sure. We will concede the game. Maybe if we'd have gone for it, we would have got there. It's tough to say. But they might have been able to just get an Atraxa and block our guy anyway. So they might have just been in trouble, whatever happened. So this Duress is probably going to be pretty good. The Pyroblast are going to have some useful text on. Plague Engineer, not a massive fan of this. Although we can name birds. We can name birds or we can name Arbor. And make it very difficult for them to cast a Green Sun Zenith. Abrupt Decay kills Teferi. We've got like Bolt the Bird style type stuff here. But I think I'd rather have Duress over the pushes. Now the question is, how good is this Pyroblast going to be? I think it's going to be pretty good, right? Just trying to work out if we can... So the Abrupt Decay also kills Teferi, but we can't kill it in response. They have to get some value off of it first. So maybe it's worth swapping one of these out. This does also kill like birds and stuff if we need to, but it does cost 2 mana. I think maybe we just want the really mana efficient stuff here, like this. I don't think we're in a position to board in this other Fatal Push back in. Like, our solution to Natural Order is to discard out of our opponent's hand rather than kill all their mana dorks. Alright, what have we got here? We have Thoughtseize. So we can just strip our opponent's hand and then try and rebuild with the library. I quite like this as a strategy. This is going to have to get a Bayou though. Let's go and get ourselves a Bayou. We really want to draw a land next turn, but if we do, then we're totally fine. So we've got here ending, birds, birds. We can't strip out both the birds because they're going to play one this turn. We can strip out removal. We can strip out Teferi. I think we strip out the plow this turn, and then the ending, and then the other ones next turn. So the ideal draw for us would be just another mana source. So we can deploy this and Thoughtseize, or we can double Thoughtseize if we feel the need to. We'll probably have to double Thoughtseize if we draw a land at this rate. Sure, so there's the bird we knew about. I don't feel happy with how this game is panning out now, because we're kind of getting behind on the old mana front. So let's Duress our opponent. Another Prismatic Ending. Okay, we'll take this. 4 cards, sure. We didn't draw a second land, which is really annoying. There's the other bird. We've kind of just left our opponent with a grip full of removal. There's the Caracas. Now we're very vulnerable to things off the top of our opponent's deck. We can play this Ignoble Hierarch, but it's just going to get hit by an ending. Are we okay with that? I think I would rather get this one hit by an ending and then play the Thoughtseize the turn after. So we're kind of using this as a Thoughtseize. Right, our opponent's brainstorming. Think Wooded Foothills to crack away. They could just cast a natural order here and beat us. We don't have like Grafdigger's Cage type options here, although they do have endings to beat it anyway. A Bayou. They're playing Progenitus, but they are also a 5-colour deck, so there's some nice synergy there. Alright. I'm just going to create a guy. They're going to let us have this mana. That can't be right. Just letting us have mana like that. That seems a wild choice to me. So now our opponent's got 2 things here. We can... I think we're definitely Thoughtseizing. Okay, so they shuffled away one of the endings. How scared am I of this? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I don't think I'm that scared of it. So we'll take the ending. And then... Are we playing the Plague Stinger and forcing them to sack? Or are we playing the library and just getting deeper into our deck? I think we have to force them to sack here. And if they get greedy and don't, then we can bash them up for 7. I imagine we're just seeing a downtick on this, losing their insect token to kill our stinger. That's what I would do anyway. I'm coming for their 1 damage first. We may as well force them to lose counters on this in order to kill our guy, rather than trade in here. Yeah, so this ticks down. Goodbye. Goodbye. Yeah. I thought that might happen. I don't know what they can Green Sun Zenith here for, like a Leovold or something. Could be an Uro, just to start get that train rolling. Because they've got the 4 mana between these cards. So, an Uro would be pretty good. Just a Ignoble Hierarch and a Birds. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So they're going for the Hardcast Atraxa line. Understood. It's be a good turn to draw. Is this a good one? Is this one good enough? They can kill it with this, weirdly. I think we should just play out this. And then we can go to attacks and we can attack Grist for 1. And they have to lose something if they want to block here. Which means which will take them off of Atraxa. For a turn at least. So we're playing this one quite slowly. And we kind of lost the last game because we were a bit cagey. But again, I have to imagine that Atraxa is in our opponent's deck. So the natural order would have killed us either way, I think. Teferi Time Rattler. We're going to lose our library here. Pretty good draw from our opponent, sure. And they can crack in for 1. And this can downtick and kill our Crusader. Yeah, just sort of a little bit behind. The turns where we missed mana, I think if we'd have actually drawn a land in the early stages of the game, we probably would have won the game by now. But got a little bit ruined on the top of our deck there. Coming in with the birds rather than the Ignoble Hierarch. Interesting. No, it's the same damage either way. It's just interesting to see what creature they left back and why that might be. Maybe they're in fear of something that could sweep out some of these guys. I won't be able to take out the insect and all the birds. Got another bird. A Green Sun Zenith. This is a Dryad Arbor, sure. Our opponent's got a lot of blockers. Wooded Foothills. We could just scale up our Ignoble Hierarch, but they've got so many chump blockers. So we attack with this, they can double block and kill it, so I don't really want that to happen. We can play this out. We'll leave it uncracked so we can have a really good turn with our Sylvan Library next turn. Again, we're at the mercy of the top of our opponent's deck, and they are playing a blue deck with cantrips. So we are certainly not looking like winning this game right now, but it's certainly possible we can win the game. It's going to be difficult to get through these Grist activations. Something like an Inkmoth Nexus would be useful. That force blocks with the Birds of Paradise, and they wouldn't be able to kill it with a Grist. Alright, let's have a look at the top of our library. Okay, Inkmoth Nexus is one of the ones we wanted. So we'll put these on top of our library. And play this one out. And we will shuffle these other cards off the top of our library here. So we'll go and get ourselves a Badlands so we can cast this. So we now have a ability to draw a Pyroblast and have it do something now. We can at least take out the Teferi. So the Grist is probably going to tick down and kill our Crusader. That's unfortunately not something we can really deal with here. Goodbye, Phyrexian Crusader. But we do get to start attacking with our Inkmoth Nexus. She'll float a red, make our opponent think about something. I'm not going to animate this, because if it would block, it would die with whatever attacks. Okay, it's coming in for 2 here. Right, the top of our library's got some stuff. Berserk would be very good here. We do have to kind of go all in on it because they have a Teferi, but they only got 1 card. Okay, they've got no cards in hand. Excellent. Let's find a Berserk, please. Not a Berserk, just some bad cards. Okay, so we put this on top of our library. Put this on top of our library. Play out this so we can shuffle those cards away. We can activate this and swing. We can attack the Grist to try and kill it. I don't really have any creatures in the graveyard. Alright, so let's turn this into a guy. Let's go to attacks. Let's attack. We attack them for 1. We kind of just need to draw the Berserk anyway. And that gives us 12 power. So how many birds is that? 1, 2, 3. So we need one of these birds to die or to attack them for a poison. So we have to attack them, I think, here. So if this connects, they have 1 poison, so we can trample over with a Berserk. If it doesn't connect because of the birds, then they have 1 less bird to put in front of it for the Berserk turn. So we are pretty much just trying to draw one thing. Now our opponent is probably going to Sylvan Library bounce maybe here, depending on if they find anything exciting on the top of their library. Again, the top of their deck can just kill us at any point. And instant speed. A Wasteland. That's a horrible, horrible situation for us. For another Bayou. Our opponent's playing a 5-colour deck with Wastelands. Pretty disgusting stuff. Alright, so we've got this Fatal Push. We have this Pyroblast. We have this Crusader that won't hit. Our opponent is coming in for 1, 2, 3, 4 damage. If we shoot one guy, we survive. So we have to do that. But if we... How are we winning the game is the question. So we can shoot one guy and nothing happens. We can play a Crusader, it will get bounced. It can't get bounced actually. We play a Crusader, they can minus the Grist to kill this and swing for 4. If we play a Fatal Push and kill 1, they swing for 3 and that buys us a turn. But then the next turn we need the card further down to be good. What is in our deck that's going to be good enough that we can play it and actually hope to win the game on 1 life? I don't think there's anything. I think we just have to concede this one, I'm afraid. Yeah, it's a bit of a pity. If we just drew 1 land 1 turn earlier, I think we win this game. But unfortunately, we didn't quite get there, which is a sorry state of affairs, but sometimes happens. I think our opponent's deck is unbelievably greedy. Like, they do have Birds of Paradise and Ignoble Hierarch to kind of help with this, but they're playing full-on 5-colour Wasteland deck. I think the Wasteland is very greedy in their deck. But that's just me being salty because I lost a little bit. But I do think decks like this have a real cost to them that more people should be punishing in the meta right now. Alright, let's go to round 2. Alright, we have a turn 2 kill with this hand. And if we can draw another land, we do get to do a Thoughtseize before we go all in. So I will keep this hand. Now, we might just have to Thoughtseize turn 1 if our opponent shows us some sort of dangerous combo-y type stuff on their first turn, but we'll see how this progresses. A Tundra. That's not a dangerous combo card. It does potentially cast a Plow on their turn 1 though. If our guy dies, how does that impact us? Quite badly. I think because of what they've shown us here, we're just going to get a basic forest and play out the Hierarch here. If they want to waste removal on this rather than our other guys, That's fine. Okay, they didn't have a plow they wanted to use that turn. Interesting. Right, with some sort of Banties type deck. A Sylvan Library, sure. They're going to be able to pay all the life they want here, but... Okay, so we'll play this. We'll crack it for a swamp. Okay, so everyone can just run Wasteland these days without consequences. Let's Thoughtseize our opponent. Endurance, Brainstorm, Minsk and Boo. Which of these do I care about most? We don't care about the Minsk and Boos. I kind of don't want this Endurance to come into play because it will get in our way a little bit. So I think we'll take the Endurance and force them into doing something with the Brainstorm. Like, they're already looking at the top cards of their library anyway. So we'll play this out. We're not going to attack this Hierarch, so we can bluff some sort of Vines of Vastwood type affair. That maybe makes our opponent think twice. If we could draw another discard spell, that would be absolute aces here. I imagine our opponent is going to draw both of the cards on top of their library here. Unless they have a fetch land and the other cards are just really bad. But they have a Brainstorm in hand, so every card is just a free card. I don't know why you wouldn't just draw it all when someone plays an effect guy. They drew one card. That's a little bit cowardly, but fair enough, I suppose. With Terrain Forest, that's not one of the ones we knew about. So we know 3 of the cards in our opponent's hand here. An Inkmoth Nexus. Let's play this. Let's cast Scale Up on our Glistener Elf. If this doesn't work, we do just have the combo again on our Inkmoth Nexus next turn. So shuffling away the card they didn't want on top of the library. Oh, they got red mana. Okay, so they're like hot bands. A Brainstorm. Alright. What have you got for us, opponent? This is 7. We can try and win the game on the spot here. This does give our opponent the ability to draw more cards next turn, though. But let's see if we can do it. Alright. We managed to get them. Excellent. So, we're going to be in a similar position of wanting things like Pyroblast and Duress, except our opponent is going to be not really playing the birds and stuff we want to Fatal Push. Abrupt Decay kills Endurance relatively reliably. It also kills an Uro, and it blows up a bunch of other stuff, like Teferis and such like. Phyrexian Crusader here is going to be pretty good. It's not going to do much against their green spells, but against the other stuff it should be doing some work. We have a question of how much we want to have Abrupt Decays for Endurances, and how much we want to have Pyroblasts to counter some of their stuff. We're kind of relying on the Duresses to do a fair bit of work for us. What the blue spells we're scared about in Bant. I think we're more scared of the Endurance, so I'm going to have a 2-2 split here rather than a 3-1. Again, the Endurance isn't that scary, but it's just, if they have something that's in the way, it's going to be annoying. And we can also blow up a Boo token in response to a Minsk and Boo activation. This has got too many lands. I think we can mulligan this one pretty safely. Alright, this one cooks with some amount of gas. I think we're probably getting rid of the Abrupt Decay, and we're just going to try and overload their removal here. So we can go Thoughtseize into Plague Stinger. Unless we draw a Hierarch or something. We can do this off of a Swamp. That seems good to me. So can our opponent realistically play a game off of basics? It's more or less free for us to play around. I think they're more likely to have Wastelands and back to basics though. So we probably do want the Bayou. So then we can have 2 green sources that can't be wasted. This is a genuinely tough choice actually, what land we take. Or do we want the Taiga? The Badlands here, sorry. So we'll take the Badlands so we can Pyroblast. If we draw it. What we got here? Force of Vigor, Force of Will, Ice Fang. Honestly, I think the Ice Fang is the scarier thing of all of these. Not something you necessarily see often, but we can play through a Force of Will. If they want to 2-for-1 themselves over a Plague Stinger, be my guest. So Savannah. We also take their velocity away, because they're a deck that wants to consistently hit land drops. Let's see if this is worthy of a Force of Will. They're certainly thinking about it. Force of Will, pitching Force of Will. The little 2-mana Hymn to Turak guy. That's what that is. So there's the forest we knew about. Not quite getting where we want to be here. So we'll leave it up the Pyroblast so we can threaten, the mana for the Pyroblast at least, we can threaten that. Now they've got a bunch of removal in the deck. We do need another pump spell. Any pump spell that isn't Invigorate kills them. Actually no, we can kill them even with another Invigorate here because we can attack with both. Provided, well, they have a Force of Vigor though, so we don't really want to attack with the Inkmoth Nexus, so we can avoid it. Let's just attack with our little 1-1. If we have to pump it to kill an Endurance, we might do that. Doesn't look like they had an Endurance in hand. Excellent. Right, we can play this second Inkmoth Nexus and pass. Again, we don't want to activate these and just get Force of Vigor in the heart. So we can activate one and give them a bad Force of Vigor turn. Okay, so here's a Plow. That's fine. So we probably activate one Inkmoth Nexus and you force them to use Force on one Nexus. A Pyroblast. That's a pretty good draw to have. We will animate this using this mana. We will attack. And hopefully they don't have Endurance this turn. Let's get that one damage in. That's Verdant Catacombs. And we'll pass the turn. So we're holding up Pyroblast if they have something like a Teferi. This feels like they're just going to Force a Vigor just for our one Inkmoth Nexus here. It's an expensive removal spell, but they know we're not going to play both into this. So they may as well get it to do something. Sure. So now our opponent's down to 3 cards after they draw, and we have a Pyroblast for anything good and blue, like a Teferi that they may try and land. They're representing hardcast Force of Will here. Right, let's activate this with our Bayou. Then we're going to fetch another Bayou and cast Glistener Elf. Cheeky one poison. Not a lot, but it's something. It's honest work, right? Let's go and get ourselves another Bayou. We can always go get another red source with this, with our Bloodstained Mire if needs be. Another Glistener Elf. Doubled our clock. What we got here? A minor misstep. Is this worth Pyroblasting? That's an interesting question. Our opponent's got 1 card in hand. I guess we don't really care about Teferi that much. I think we'll try and stick our threat here. Now this is susceptible to a whole bunch of removal though. So maybe that was a trap from our opponent, or they're just trying to do spells because they're just bricking out on lands here. Another Inkmoth Nexus. Interesting. Right, let's animate this Inkmoth Nexus. Let's go to attacks. So this will put our opponent to 5. So next turn we can try and kill them with Invigorate. Put on the Inkmoth Nexus and pass. Alright, so we've got an end of turn play. I'm curious what this is going to be from our opponent. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. What are they going to play our end turn for 6? Wow, they're doing it to thin. That's wrong in my opinion. You just want to hold them for brainstorms. The marginal thing you get is not worth it at all when you're playing a brainstorm deck. Okay, so we will animate this using this. Go to attacks. Attack with creatures. We can just hard cast this, can't we? What one are we going to hit though? Is the question. We've already seen Force of Vigor. I think we put on the Elf. We're not holding up Pyroblast because they're going to counter this anyway, so it doesn't really matter. Okay, this is a hard cast Force of Will. Sure. We didn't activate the second Inkmoth because we didn't want to play into Force of Vigor. We still get 2 damage here, which puts our opponent to 7, which is lethal if we activate all of our things. So next turn we can bait ourselves into getting Force of Vigor in the heart. But maybe we'll draw like a Duress or something and we can just pave the way. Opponent's got 2 cards in hand. A Plague Stinger. That is a reasonable follow-up threat. We'll activate this using this. We will activate this using this. And we will attack. Activate. Attack little creatures. Let's see if we can get the damage in. Is this going to be an Ice Fang? Or are they just going to blow us out with the Force of Vigor here? Just an Ice Fang. Sure. So we're going to lose one of our guys and put them to lethal with the multitude of threats we're representing. Sure. They correctly block one of the Inkmoths so that we can... So we don't have stuff that... Multiple things that dodge the Wrath. They might be trying to play out to here. Source to Plowshares. Okay. Crack this. Get ourselves another Bayou. And then pass 10. So we have lethal damage again. We've lost both of our Inkmoth though. So a Wrath can sweep these guys up. Have to imagine there's some amount of Wrath in our opponent's deck. Another one of these greedy 4-colour control decks. I guess at least they're not 5-colour control with Wastelands though. Alright, so let's duress our opponent here and see if we win the game. We win the game! Okay, so we got a match win there. So, because our opponent doesn't have like the big splashy natural order thing that can just kill us at any point, we can kind of just like pick away parts and just kind of grind them down with mediocre men until we're ready to kill them. Like, it worked okay. Definitely could have gone worse for us. I think our early Thoughtseize take away the Ice Fang, which kind of roadblocks us a little bit. I think our opponent's draw there was pretty unfortunate, but I'll take it. Let's go to round 3. Right, we're on the play for round 3. Let's have a look at our opener. That's a nice one, isn't it? We can keep this one. We have a lot of choices. A lot of choices. I think we just lead out on the Glistener Elf here. We'll probably get a Forest because we can. We'll play our Glistener Elf. And then next turn we can play Ignoble Hierarch and Thoughtseize. get in for 2 infect, have a look at their hand, and then sort of get an idea about whether or not we can try and win the game next turn, maybe. Because we hit for 2 this turn, and we can hit for 7 next turn, so we'll only be 1 shy. A plateau. You don't see those every day. Okay, so I think we're cracking this for a... do you want a swamp? I think we have to get a Bayou here so that we can cast double Hierarch next turn. Let's Thoughtseize our opponent and see what they're working with. Caves of Chaos Adventurer, Chromox. Okay, we'll take this Chromox. And I think we're just playing this guy out. Going to attacks. So our opponent doesn't draw fast mana. I think we win this game next turn. City of Traitors. It's going to be like Goblin Rabblemaster. Okay, they drew fast mana off the top, sure. Caves of Chaos Adventurer. So we do have a guy that is like immune to their deck. So that's pretty good. A Berserk would be a great draw here. Let's see what we have. A Glistener Elf. Okay, so all we're going to do is we're just going to cast this guy. Black. 1. Black. This guy out. I don't think it's worth attacking for 2 here. We can shrink the power and toughness of this guy. If we do that, this guy becomes a 2. And then this guy can soak up all the damage. That seems interesting to me. Do you want to, this guy is not getting killed this game. So we just have a kill next turn. As long as our Hierarchs live. So do we make this take some damage? I think so. Like, this means if our opponent has some sort of ridiculous some ridiculous turn somehow, we're fine. So we get to just kill this with first strike if it attacks. So this is basically no, sorry, this won't deal us any damage this turn though, because it's going to get the counters on it, but we're going to strip 2 of those counters off immediately with our first strike, and our guy has protection from red, so they're not going to have a great time attacking here. I'm not sure how they plan to beat the Phyrexian Crusader here. Pretty happy about this card. So they were going to be able to get through a little bit of damage this turn. So they're seeing what they draw on top. Chalice of the Void. They can play Chalice on 1. That's actually pretty good here. So we get to block this. Snipe away some of the damage on this. We are taking 1 here. So they can play the Chalice for 1, which stops this scale up, which is a little bit annoying. It means you don't have the win if they play it. Feels like they're just going for another Caves of Chaos Adventurer here. Which I think is a mistake, right? Yeah. So this deals us 5 damage. I guess they can arena our guy, but it's certainly attacking this turn. And then we play this out, This is a 6/6 that gets +2/+2. So we're going to get 8 poison, and we put them in the ground. Get in the dirt, opponent. If they'd have played the Chalice there, this game kind of becomes a real game. Like, we have a protection guy, but they have all this trample damage. So I think that's a real trade-off there. I'm playing this for 0. Don't like that one. We'll play out this Hierarch. We will give our guy some good damage here. There you go. Eat it. There you go. Excellent. I think if they play the Chalice there, they might win that game. So, what are our options in this matchup? On the draw, I do not like Duresses as an option here. Is Collector Ouphe slightly better? Is Plague Engineer okay, just as a thing that can trade with any of their threats and sweep their goblins? Yes. Our opponent's going to be playing goblins, by the way, just in case you were unaware of what this deck looks like. So Fatal Push can hit stuff as well. I think the Thoughtseize is just going to be too slow to like do stuff, and if we get caught with a Chalice, at least we've got some like slightly higher end stuff that can just win the game for us. Maybe the Sylvan Library is actually a slow card here. And we're looking at these Thoughtseize. Collector Ouphe does stuff, and maybe on the play we want them, but I think on the draw they're going to get their guy into play, which is going to get them a land, and we're not really going to get anywhere. Our opponents have submitted a 62 card deck, which is certainly unusual and interesting. What does our hand do? It casts a Thoughtseize, and then if we don't draw a land, we don't do anything. If we do draw a land with a Chalice, we can Abrupt Decay, and then we have the kill. Oh, this is a tough one. This is a little bit of a tough one. Like, we beat Chalice, but if we don't draw a land, we do lose the game. Do we think we can draw a land in 2 draw steps? Is that worth the risk? That's a tough choice. That's a real tough choice. We could get this similar hand without the scale up, and that's still the same hand. Oof, tough decision this. Think we're going to mulligan. Alright, we have Hierarch into Crusader. That seems pretty good. I think we throw back the library here. The Abrupt Decay can interact with things like Goblin Rabblemaster. But if we can just go turn 1 Hierarch, turn 2 Crusader, and then maybe pick off a guy and just bash with the Crusader for a couple of turns, I think we're okay. Alright, we're looking at maybe a 3-drop on turn 1, or it could be a 4-drop. Okay, so this is going to be a... Oh, Leyline. So this is even better for us, because we can just cleanly take this out with the Abrupt Decay. Next turn, we can just play... So we can play the Hierarch into the Crusader like we planned, and then we can just pick this off when we see fit. This has protection from this. This doesn't have trample, so this isn't going to do anything in the face of our Crusader. Alright, playing against a red-white deck with a pro red-white guy. Okay, that's an excellent draw for us. So, we are going to get a basic forest here, because these decks sometimes play Magus of the Moon, and I don't want to get caught out by that. It's pretty much free for us to play around it. Because we're not like a Daze deck, like the Bant one, we can afford to actually have basics to fetch. Right, so we're going to take a hit for 4 here. But then this hopefully won't hit us again unless we want it to. So they're going to play their Lotus Petal, which is a pretty good find for them. So I can play a 4-drop this turn. So we've got a land. Chalice of the Void for 1. Okay, that's actually okay for us. We can blow it up when the time comes, or we can just try and crusade our way to victory. Let's cast this. Black, black, green. I didn't mention this at the top, but when I qualified for the Pro Tour, I did it with a homebrew of mine playing Phyrexian Crusader in Standard. It was like a blue-black Tezzeret Infect deck, where you like played the 2-mana Infect Mire, and then you just turn it into a 5/5 and bashed. Winota. Okay, so we kind of need to get through this turn. Let's see how we go. Just 1 trigger. What are we going to see here? Seasoned Dungeoneer. A little bit awkward, truth be told. So we have a choice here. We're blocking, but I'm just trying to work out what we block. So we do put counters on this with our Crusader. And we're going to blow up the Leyline anyway, but is preventing 5 damage worth it? We can shrink this, which prevents... So we take 5 now to take 2 later. If we block here, we take 3 now to take 3 later. So that's 6 over a couple of turns. This is 5 right now. Not the easiest choice, this. I think we block the Seasoned Dungeoneer. So if we can draw an Invigorate, we can win the game. A Berserk. That does it too, right? So we go Abrupt Decay on this. This is black, green. Blow this up. Scale up on this guy. Berserk on this guy. Go attacks. Boom. So we are 2-1 after 3 rounds. Not bad. Not bad at all, especially since the first one we kind of got a little bit jammed up on land. This deck seems alright, actually. It helps playing against red-white decks when you've got pro-red-white guys, but the reason we're playing this deck and this guy is because he's really good. Alright, on to round 4. We're in round 4. We're on the play. We have no lands. Let's mulligan. This is turn 2 Phyrexian Crusader. I'll take that. Which is turn 2 Crusader, turn 3 win. So if our opponent is relying on Swords to Plowshares to kill our Crusader, we have the game sewn up. If our opponent's playing a combo deck, they kind of just get a free roll. So we'll keep this. One of these things has to go back. I guess it's probably the Decay here. And we say done. We can get a Forest here, I think. Because every other deck, apart from one, every other card in our deck... oh wait, no, we can't get Forest because of the land that it is, actually. That's right, isn't it? So we have to get Bayou here. Play our Hierarch. Our opponent just be playing like some red-white deck. Sure. Ancient Tomb. We're going to see Chalice. We just beat a Chalice deck. We have the Crusader. Chalice decks tend to be... I guess some of them are blue, right? You got things like 8 cast. So we might be getting counterspell on our guy, but we'll see. Our opponent is paying costs. And they're spending a while paying costs, which makes me think that they're trying to resolve a Chalice. No, they're playing something bigger. Oh, they just played a turn 1 Minskaboo. Sure, we do actually race this, weirdly. So, this goes for 4, and then it's 7, and then we kill them. Alright, so this is like a red-green Applejacksy type thing. Oh, they're just killing our guy. That's pretty smart. Do we save this? I think we do save this. No. If we draw a land here, that'd be a little bit annoying. We did draw a land here. But we're still just getting this guy out and online ASAP. So black, black, black. Minskaboo does not tangle with this guy. We don't have lethal now. because we had to use our thing to save our tempo there, which I think is right to do. Like, if we know we're drawing the land, maybe we can think about it a little bit differently. Alright, this is going to attack, we'll block, and we'll strip 2 of the counters off of it. We can kill the Minsc and Boo if we want to. Now, our opponent is... If they don't make a land drop this turn, they're in some real trouble, but it can definitely go a multitude of ways for them. So they've got a land there. And they've got a drop to follow. A Trinisphere. Okay. That's an interesting one. Do they want to deal us 2 damage with Minsc and Boo is the question. I think they might as well, right? I guess they can deal more damage next turn, but I think we're incentivized here to kill Minsc and Boo and then drop the library. That's 3 because of the Trinisphere. But we have 7 poison if we want it next turn. So we can hit them. We got a 2-turn clock. So we could have attacked them for 3 and then tried to scale up and win next turn. But if our opponent's under their own Trinisphere, I'm not... I think the Sylvan Library is better if things go wrong. Maybe I'm not supposed to play for things going wrong. Again, I kind of built this deck out of nowhere. So, okay, this is not great for us, truth be told. All right. This is, unfortunately, not a red or a white creature. So, what are we doing here? Let's draw some cards and see where we end up. An Abrupt Decay isn't the most useful here. The second library definitely goes. So this goes on top of our library. We can't cast 2 spells this turn anyway. So we could cast Abrupt Decay, but then can't cast a second spell. Interesting. Interesting indeed. I think we put this on top of our library. If we attack here, that's 3 poison. So this is going to have 0 power and toughness. I think that's worth doing here. It's a first strike. Now they can forge and put some counters back on this, but they kind of have to block. Otherwise we get the initiative. So we get to shuffle off the stuff we've just put on top with Sylvan Library, which is not something they surely want us to be able to do. So I imagine they block here. Yeah, sure. So we get some first strike damage going. Put 3 counters on it. It doesn't deal me any return damage. We get to cast this. 1, 2, 3. So now we can hold back for blocks with the Phyrexian Crusader if we want to. Or if we end up getting to 6 mana, we can overload this, which I've not done before, which would be kind of cool. I imagine they're going to put the counters on their Undermountain Adventurer, so it's not just a 0-1, unless their plan is just to use it as a mana dog. Yeah, okay, so there it is. So our opponent could just pretty liberally use their Ancient Tomb against us, but we'll see how this progresses. A Minsc and Boo, a Fury. So we're going to lose our Plague Stinger and our Ignoble Hierarch here, which is a real cost. So I think this one might be slipping away. Again, if we did the line where we didn't kill the Boo and just tried to kill them, we wouldn't win this game because they dropped a green creature on the next turn. Alright, we need the top of our library to be good here. We know what 2 of the cards are, unfortunately. Another library, yuck. Put on top of our library. So I think we already knew there was a library. It's the Taiga is the one we didn't know, right? We kind of have to power through this. So we can attack for 2 and they can block with the Undermountain Adventurer. Feels kind of bad. Okay, I think we're going to... So we take 5, we go to 8. This is 6, 7, 8. So we would have to kill the hamster if we want to do it this way. So if we keep this in hand and attack, if they don't block, then we're taking 6, 7, 8. If they do block, this is bad. I think we have to pay full life to keep this in hand. What are we looking for here? So we can block this and take 4. Yeah, this one has slipped away from us a little bit, I think. So we block that. We take 2, kill their guy. Yeah, it's going to be tough to win this one. Very tough. This guy having Vigilance is also quite handy for them if they want to attack with it. Good blocks. So we block here. And we're forced to kill this. How are we getting out of this sticky situation? I don't know. Is the answer to that one. Fatal Push is not doing anything here because we need a land to go with it. We can't cast 2 spells. Another Undermountain Adventure. So they get to go into Throne of the Dead 3 next turn, which is probably going to be pretty far on the way to lethal, even ignoring the stuff that's on the board right now. We're going to hold this. We're going to carry on playing this game to at least see Throne of the Dead 3 to see more cards in their deck, since that's going to pop next turn. But I think we are dead here. There's a Sylvan Library that we knew about. A Scale Up, an Ignoble Hierarch. We can play Ignoble Hierarch, we can block 2 things, and then we die to the Undermountain Adventurer. Scale Up doesn't actually scale up the way we want because it's 2 of the same, but we can't cast 2 spells anyway. So we're going to put this on top and then the Scale Up. I'm going to play this guy, 1, 2, 3. And I guess we hold back on blocks, not that it matters, but our opponent can make a mistake. We're just trying to see what they've got in there, throwing the dead 3 so we can get some more information about the deck for the purposes of sideboarding. I'm pretty sure I know what their deck looks like, but it doesn't hurt to see 10 cards of your opponent's deck for free. Okay, I expected every single one of these cards. Sure, so they got Fury, they kill this off, they attack with everything, we die, that's fine. I just wanted to see some more cards from your deck opponent. So, what do we want to board in for this? We don't have amazing options again here. It's not really a matchup that I was expecting to play much of. I don't think the red-green... I think if you can play... I played on the channel a while back, like the natural order red-green deck. I think that is good. But I don't just think the straight-up trying to Trinisphere stuff works. Like, so often you get just caught behind your own 8-ball a bit. How good is Fatal Push here? It can kill Minsk and Boo, which is not nothing. But I don't think we want the Fatal Push. Like this Plague Engineer on Hamster kind of does a similar job, also trades with other things. We could play like Collector Ouphe or Chrome Mox or Mox Diamond or whatever Lotus Petal type stuff they have. But I don't think that's worth it. I think we just want to go like this. On the play, we can at least Thoughtseize the thing that makes a hand tick. Usually, these decks are quite susceptible to a single discard spell. Another reason why I'm not particularly a fan of this build of the red-green deck. Now, it certainly does powerful stuff, but I think it's a bit too easy to pick apart and doesn't have a lot of redundancy. And I don't know, its mana is not very stable. All right, what have we got here? We have Glistener Elf into Plague Stinger, into maybe Crusader, Plague Engineer. This doesn't actually feel very good. It's quite slow. I think we mulligan this one. Interesting. We get to double Thoughtseize our opponent here. I think we can keep this. One of these has got to go back. Probably the Plague Stinger. It does have flying though. But we also have the Inkmoth Nexus for that. I guess we get rid of the Plague Stinger. So we'll get a Bayou and we will Thoughtseize our opponent. I think it's more important to Thoughtseize turn 1 than it is to play this Ignoble Hierarch. Because our opponent's deck kind of has to have a big explosive turn 1 or 2. And if you take the right piece out, you can kind of just shut them down. Like take away their mana or their payoff. Because they normally have one of those pieces as a linchpin. Because they're basically trying to cast a 4-drop on turn 1. So this has to be a Bayou. Let's click the right land. That always helps. Let's Thoughtseize our opponent. See what they're working with. Alright. So they have one payoff here and a Fury. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So they could just cast a Fury on turn 1. Do I care about them casting a Fury on turn 1? I don't think so. Don't want to spend their whole hand to make something that we can roadblock. I don't really mind that. So we'll take the Minsk and Boo here. That's easily the best thing in their hand. If they don't play the Fury this turn, we can then just take it. Ideally, we can draw a source to cast this Ignoble Hierarch. So we can do this and Thoughtseize at the same time. That would be pretty nice. Not sure if going all in on a Fury against a deck that you know has got a pro-red creature in is the way to go, though. But we'll see. So these could just be being played out to have them play, but looks like our opponent's going for it unless they've drawn something else this turn. Undermountain Adventure. Okay, so they drew a pretty good draw off the top there. Arguably the best card in their deck in this matchup. Bit awkward. But we have a flyer that we can deploy next turn. So we've got Fury still in their hand. And they've got Simian Spirit Guide to pitch to it. That's not great for us. A second Ignoble Hierarch. So definitely playing out this Inkmoth Nexus. If we play this Ignoble Hierarch, it will be getting hit by a Fury. If we Thoughtseize, though, we don't get to play anything else anyway. But Ignoble Hierarch does boost our clock with the Nexus. I think we Thoughtseize the Fury away here. Because if they do get enough mana to somehow cast it, I don't really want to be in that situation. So our opponent is definitely ahead here. They drew probably their best draw in that position. Which is a bit unfortunate for us, but the cards are in the deck to draw, right? But like, imagine if they just drew like another mana dork or land or whatever that turn. And they're sort of so far behind that it doesn't matter. But now I think they probably just can ride this guy to victory. This guy's Vigilance will not reach. The mountain. You're going to get fabled here. Yeah, our opponent's drawing pretty hot here. I think we're probably done on this one. Okay, so we can play our pro red guy. So how much damage is this? This is 10 damage coming in. 10, 11, 12 damage because of the trap. So playing out Crusader doesn't actually feel great here. I think we are playing out double Hierarch and chump blocking with one of them. And then maybe next turn try and... I don't really know what we're trying to do there. I don't think we can realistically cast the Phyrexian Crusader here because of their green guy. Pitch one of the spirit guides. Okay, so they got loads of mana because this guy taps for a bunch of mana as well. And they're getting a treasure here. Let's block. Let's keep ourselves alive, if you can call that living. So we can get a basic out of our deck, but what next is the question. A Plague Stinger. So we can animate this, attack, make another chump blocker. Like, this is what we have to do, right? I don't think it's good enough, but maybe we can thread the needle somehow. If this for some reason doesn't connect, then I think we're in trouble. But we get this now, which gives us... Doesn't matter which of these. I don't think it does. I think the forest... No, just guessing. We can play out our swamp. We can play out another chump blocker. And then we can animate our Inkmoth Nexus. It can get forged. And then if we draw scale up, we win. If we draw Berserk, we don't win. So we basically just need to draw scale up next turn is how we win this game. Oh wait, yeah, both of these have to go under the bus, don't they? Yeah. Under the bus we go. Doesn't really matter which way round. Would I like this to be a 1-1? Or this to be a 4-5? I think the solution is it doesn't matter. They both have to... We're just trying to draw scale up here. And then we can maybe win the game. Now, a bunch of things kill us here. Like Minsc and Boo kills us. Okay, this seems fine to me. This trigger goes on stack here. So we'll animate this with this. If we... Yeah, so the only thing that wins us the game here is if we forge into scale up here. Because this will be a 6, 7, 8. That's not the one, is it? We can play this out, which will take this and this out. Oh, it'll make this one, but then... Right, let's go attack our opponent here. Give them the fear. And then we're dead. Yeah, that was an unfortunate one. Sometimes that is kind of the problem with discard versus counterspells. Like if we were playing a blue version of Infect, we could have just counterspelled that instead of trying to discard it out of there, discard the thing, and then whatever they played on turn 1 would get countered and they would be nowhere. Which is again why I think this particular build of the green-red deck isn't very good. Because one counterspell, if they don't have the Cavern on their thing, because they would have committed quite a lot of resources to it, hoping to get the land back off the initiative trigger, and just get buried by it. I think if our opponent had drawn anything, I guess if they drew, so they had 8 guys to draw to that are really good in that stage, and Minsc and Boo is also pretty good there. So they had, what, 8, 9, 10, maybe 11 draws that were good, but the rest of the draws in their deck were pretty terrible at that point. So we kind of just fell on the wrong side of variance, but such is life. Sometimes it happens in your favour, sometimes it doesn't, so can't complain. So we're 2-2 going to the final rounds, trying to get the positive record. We're on the draw, and our hand doesn't produce an infect creature, which is a real problem for us. So we don't also have like cantrips on our deck, so that's no good. We don't have any green mana, so this is the mulligan. Yeah, we can keep this one. We're putting 2 things back. It's probably... I think Thoughtseize is the interaction we want to keep here. See what our opponent does. If they hit us with a Thoughtseize turn 1, I'm not going to be best pleased. Tropical Islands. This could be a whole bunch of different decks. Anywhere from like a slow bank control to like Omnitel or whatever. So, could even be an Ad Nauseam Tendrils deck. We just don't know. The question is, which of my things do we play? I think we go and get ourselves a Bayou and play the Glistener Elf. Give them a bit of the fear. Then we can Thoughtseize next turn. This also opens us up to drawing a green 1-drop as well. So we can draw an Ignoble Hierarch next turn. We can deploy that, bash for 2, and Thoughtseize in 1 turn cycle. It's not a bad way to kick things off. Tundra. So some sort of Banty type control. How greedy and how many colours it is, who knows. Sure, Prismatic Ending. I think if we didn't draw the second threat, we would have cast a Thoughtseize first to pave the way, but because we drew an additional threat, I think it's worth doing that. So, I think this is the turn we want to Thoughtseize. It's not very mana efficient, unfortunately. But it stops things like Teferi, which just gives them a massive tempo advantage and eases them into the mid-game. Force of Will, Natural Order. Yuck. Not a big fan of these things. I think we have to take... Is it the Ice Fang again, just to slow their roll? But if they find one land, they just get to dig anyway. I think it has to be the Natural Order, because that just beats us. Yeah, it's going to be tough out there. We did mull to 5, so we're under the gun to begin with. Their Force of Will is basically free for them to fire off because we start off with less cards. Right, so there goes the Ice Fang. I wonder if they'll Force of Will our Plague Stinger. Let's see if they do. They did not. Interesting. They do have an Ice Fang to soak this up, which is what I would describe as not ideal. A Ponder. So they're still digging for that land. So maybe it'd have been alright hitting that Ice Fang. Could have bought ourselves another turn. But I don't think that's the correct play there. It's the single lands and they're into Uros and all sorts. I think it's better just to take the thing that says they win the game. Because they kind of have to play a fair game a little bit. Which is with like Uros and Ice Fangs and Forces. Rather than just dumping their big scary guy into play and just winning the game that way. Are you going to get fighty? They're not going to get fighty. But it'd be funny if they did. If we draw a scale up and our opponent forgets how to use Force of Will, then we can win the game. But I don't think that's going to happen. Our Phyrexian Crusader isn't actually very good right now because our opponent's got green stuff to stick in the way. So we're kind of hoping that they waste a counterspell on our Phyrexian Crusader. So if we play this card out, play this land out, they're way more likely to counterspell this because we're running low on resources. They know they can't remove this with white removal spells, so they might be inclined to hit this one. Yep, okay. So we baited it out here. Oh, they're ploughing our guy at the same time, sure. And now they're going to Force of Will this. Leave themselves with Uro in hand. Yeah. Okay, so now we need to find an Infect creature, a scale up, and well, that'll do. As long as the Infect creature is one with evasion. That would be nice. Sure. So here comes the Uro. Next turn they can cast us for real, and we're going to be in a little bit of trouble. I don't think this is a matchup that's worth bringing in. Oh my god, these control decks are so greedy. I'll waste that. I guess it's not so bad with Ignoble Hierarch. I can allow that to be fair. Unless they've got more colours, but we'll see. So we've got a Fatal Push. That's not really where we want to be. We can use it to kill the Uro though. So there is that. I'm not maybe attacking for 2 here and then playing the Uro. Play your little buddy. Or are you holding up a Force of Will? If they don't play the Uro, it suggests to me that they have Force of Will in hand and no blue card. Which doesn't put us in amazing shape. Okay, they're going for the Uro. This doesn't put us in amazing shape either, but at least it's something we can kill. The Pyroblast is going to be pretty good in this matchup, but we're going to have to worry about the natural orders as well. There is an Uro. I think we're supposed to do this now, just in case I have a counterspell. So we have to do this to get Revolt. I'll always get a Badlands here. Let's hit this guy. No Uro for you, hopefully. They'll probably just let this go because they can recast it in the very near future anyway. Right, they can put this Wasteland into their graveyard, and then they only need one more card to exile it next turn, to escape it next turn. Under the gun is how I would describe us right now. Oh, they didn't draw a land. I don't know if that's good or bad for us, to be honest. Verdant Catacombs, we don't have any sort of brainstorm abilities, so we may as well just play it out. We could bluff some stuff in hand, like a flurry of spells, but I don't think it's going to make that much of a difference in how our opponent plays. This means that we might be able to overload a scale up at some point. We get cracked in for 2 here. If they've got a fetch land, they can play Uro. Natural Order, okay. Atraxa. Are we beating Atraxa? Probably not, but let's have a look at what they've revealed here. They got Undermountain Adventurer. Sure, I think we are done there. Alright. More multicolored greedy control decks, I see. I would like Pyroblast. I would also like Duress. I don't think I want these Abrupt Decays. Part of me wants to play these Plague Engineers to just sweep out a bunch of their guys. I think that's probably going to be better than Fatal Push here. A bit slower though, but the Duresses are hopefully going to deal with that. I don't think we can realistically afford to bring in any more than one of these though, because we kind of need our core engine, and Library is pretty good in this matchup. Although if we take out one Library, it's a kind of a slow card. They do just Prismatic Ending over and over again, which is a bit annoying. Right, let's try this. We don't really want to draw a second Library, but having 2 is fine. in the deck. So what are we looking at here? We're looking at a Noble Hierarch that has to live, otherwise you lose the game. Not sure I want to bank on Noble Hierarch, Ignoble Hierarch living. I think we just want to mulligan this one. If this was a Bayou, I'd have kept it, but... this is okay. We've got an Infect guy. We've got Pump. We've got a thing to strip out like birds and stuff on turn 2 if we need to. This hand is what I would describe as fine. We keep this. We get rid of this Taiga. Say done. Now, we're kind of in an interesting spot here. Oh, our opponent's mulligan to 5. Because they can wasteland us here. So I think we're just going to get the forest here. That way they can't wasteland us off of green. They can kill our Ignoble Hierarch to stop us from having black though. But we're going to need another land before we cast that anyway. And that's like pretty much all of our lands at that point. Control decks of wastelands. Scary stuff. Alright. Ignoble Hierarch. If they play a Mana Dork, then we just smash out Plague Engineer, but they did not. And Invigorate. We'll play this one out. We want to know what to name with this, so we're going to attack with our Ignoble Hierarch here. If our Ignoble Hierarch lives, we can kill our opponent next turn, provided all of our stuff like lands and does the things it needs to do. So we need to dodge counterspells and removals. There's a lot of ways that can go wrong. But we'll just come in for one little cheeky point damage here. Because why not? We're not really holding anything up here. This could be a Dryad Arbor. That's probably what you'd fetch end of turn, unless it's a Brainstorm end of turn because they're in desperate need of finding stuff. Yeah, okay, that's what it is. Good. I like it when our opponent is doing desperate brainstorms. They don't have mana acceleration outside of the dork, so it's not as if we have to worry about a natural order this turn. 5 cards on our opponent's hand. They have a fetch land to make the brainstorm go away, the card they didn't want on top. A Glistener Elf. Okay. I think we animate this. We don't want to use a scale up because we want to play the Glistener Elf in case they remove our Nexus. Again, there's lots of ways this can go wrong. Source to Plowshares being a prime example. Let's go to attacks. So this is going to get the Exalted. If they plow it, they might want to plow it now so we gain less life, but I don't think that's really what's going to matter in this matchup. So they probably just want to wait in case we do any sort of pump shenanigans. A Source to Plowshares. I think that's probably wrong. You need to wait until we commit something else, maybe. We do lose a land, which is a bit annoying. Or we're getting this counterspell of some description. Is this a mental misstep or whatever the one's called? It's not mental misstep. It's just a forest. Interesting. Okay. Forest does not kill Glistener Elf. Let's see what our opponent's working with now. Thoughtseize would be quite a nice draw, or a Duress or something. Depending on what our opponent plays here. If they play like a Dork out, we'll just play the... Well, if we draw a land, we'll play the Plague Engineer. Otherwise, we're kind of just going to go for it a little bit. This is going to be Plague Engineer. This is going to be a Grist. Okay. So we can name Insect. And it shuts down the Grist quite nicely. And also kills them, right? If they don't have anything. We need a land, though. Did not draw a land. That's unfortunate. We will... Oh, not that one. We will duress our opponent first. What are you working with, opponent? Force of Negation, Force of Will. That's a lot of nonsense, isn't it? There's a lot of nonsense there. The Force of Will cost them life. Force of Negation is something they can cast. I'd rather they hold up the mana to try and cast this, so we're going to take the Force of Will here. It's the least flexible option as well. So if we cast Scale Up on this guy, he's probably going to get countered. But we're going to remove the 2 cards from their hand. Yeah, sure. We don't actually care if this resolves or not, to be honest. So we'll attack them with this. If they don't block, we kill them. Because we can pump it by +8. They did not block. Okay. Boom. 10 poison. Alright. Last game. So our opponent mulligan there and certainly helped us out a bunch. Do we want more Plague Engineers on the play? I think we do. I think we just want more stuff to interact with them because they can go quite fast here. Pyroblast stops some of their things, but doesn't stop all of the things. So it's a case of do we want a Fatal Push in here? Maybe the Fatal Push is better than the 2 Plague Engineers because of how cheap it is. Yeah, I guess that makes sense. Feels weird boarding out Sylvan Library, but I think if this game goes long, we're not going to be able to grind our opponent because they're a blue deck, basically. They got draw engines. They want the game to go long. Okay, we can keep this. We can Thoughtseize. I think we Thoughtseize on turn 1 here, especially if our opponent plays a Mana Dork. Okay, it didn't do anything like that. What do we draw here? If we draw another mana source... Okay, we didn't draw another mana source. because they didn't play a white source, I think we play the Hierarch here. So the way this goes the most wrong for us is if our opponent plays Wasteland. Well, they can't play Wasteland and a removal spell here. If they counter this and then Wasteland us, that is the worst scenario for us. But if they have a Wasteland, they're probably going to be tempted to hold it for an Inkmoth Nexus. Like if we miss a land drop, then obviously they're going to cut our land out from underneath us. But if they hold it for Inkmoth Nexus, I think that's slightly better value for them. All right. They chose not to shuffle with their Ponder, but they're shuffling in their second main phase. They're getting a Birds here. They're getting a Plough on our guy. Okay, so that's one half of the thing that we didn't want to happen. Can I please draw a land? I cannot draw a land. Right. Our opponent can't make the thing this turn, but if they have two, then we're kind of in trouble. I think we just play this and see if we can force our opponent into a bad situation. If they have a Wasteland, we lose the game. But sometimes you just don't draw your lands. We are a 20 land deck here, so if they plough Wasteland, then that's lights out for us. Not a Wasteland, okay. That's the worst thing our opponent can do to us. That they can't do now. So that's nice. Tundra, Savannah, Birds of Paradise, sure. So they can natural order us next turn. They're going to plough our guy, sure. Okay, so we will Thoughtseize. What have you got? Traxxas no good here. Undermountain Adventure is definitely a scary clock that we don't want them to have. So this goes, and then we're just left just in the dirt here because of our mana base. This is a good example of the difference between blue decks and non-blue decks. Blue decks just have the cantrips to smooth things along, and in a lot of ways it's easier to play blue decks in Legacy because you have this little safety valve here. You don't have to sort of find the right hands and sort of navigate them that way. You can just say, actually, I want my hand to be better now. Like people do misplay with cantrips all the time, but I still think it's easier to play with them than without. Okay, so we've drawn a thing that does something. That's kind of exciting to me. So, do we play out a Plague Stinger here? Or do we try and duress our opponent or Thoughtseize our opponent? If they have a natural order here, we're kind of toast. I think we have to get something going here. Like if we just keep trying to Thoughtseize our opponent, how are we going to win the game, right? We need to make inroads in the game. Now, if we can draw a land and deploy threats at the same time, sure. Because if we, like, Thoughtseize them and then we untap and they've drawn another card or two cards or whatever, then we're going to be in the exact same position we were just in, where, oh, do we play a threat or do we Thoughtseize them in case they have the thing? So I think it's best just to play the guy, give us a chance to maybe win the game if we draw, like, Invigorate. That is worth a go, isn't it? They can put an Uro into play on the next turn, which is not great for us. We've got an end of turn play. This could be an Ice Fang off of the Bird's mana, in which case it's going to get harder for us to try and push through with a Plague Stinger. But we do have like a spare scale up here. Okay, the scale up pretty bad in multiples, unfortunately. Let's see what happens this time. Uro, sure. From hand, they're not playing the one from the graveyard. That's really interesting to me. That suggests that our opponent has the removal spell in hand to me, and they want to hold the mana open. Like they could have played Uro and held mana open maybe, so maybe they got multiple lines of interaction here. This is a pretty good draw. Unfortunately, this is a bird and this is a snake. If we duress our opponent, we don't get to do anything else. They don't have multiple snow color permanents though, so let's Thoughtseize our opponent and see what they're working with. Another Ice Fang. Okay, so our Plague Engineer is looking pretty good next turn. These now have Death Touch as well, which is okay. So what have our opponent got? Flusterstorm, Ponder. Flusterstorm's not going to hit our Plague Engineer, so I don't really mind about that. So I guess we take the Ponder and leave them living off the top. We could take the Flusterstorm as well right now if we want to, but I'm just not even sure if that's important to us. Is the Flusterstorm important? Are we casting this Duress next turn is another question. We also, if we get Wastelanded, we might want to find a different mana source. So I think we are on passing the turn here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So they're not casting a Traxxas anytime in the immediate future. Obviously, they can just rip a natural order and body us. Okay, that feels like what's just happened there. Oh, they might just be doing this Uro, which is fine. Not great, but fine. The Plague Engineer sweeps out the Ice Fangs and then can block and kill the Uro in combat. So not the worst. We don't care about the Flusterstorm because if they do it on a scale up, we've got another one. Now, it's a little bit awkward, but we can always Thoughtseize it away or whatever if we really, really want to. We've got 3 cards in hand, we know 2 of them. Are they deploying a mana dork here just so we have perfect information? They are. Good. Get in with snakes. They might get in with 1 snake, but I doubt it. No, sorry, we've already gone past the combat phase. What am I talking about? Okay, over to us. Okay, this is good. We get to take the Flusterstorm for next turn. Do we want the Bayou or the Badlands here? I think just looking at the spells we have, we want to just be taking out just getting all of our Bayous here. Maybe that's a mistake. Let's Duress our opponent first. We'll take the Flusterstorm we know about. They can Flusterstorm with this if they want to, but it's a weird play to me. Sure, we'll take this. Just leaves them with an Atraxa. And play this guy. 1, black, black. We'll name Snake. Hold on. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. How much is this? 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's a little bit awkward because this Atraxa coming into play is pretty bad news for us, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 3, 4, 5, 6. I think we might have to name Bird here. Just so they don't cast Atraxa the next turn. Because that's their only access to black mana right now. Okay. Not ideal. So we're looking for Berserk. Like Berserk is lethal here, right? Because this will be a 12 power guy. Now we can take 6 damage here if we want. Or we can block this and sort of force them to do some other stuff. I think I'm okay just to block this. Like they do get to draw another card this turn, but it means they don't get to... I guess it's kind of much of a muchness, but this guarantees us saving 6 life. Whereas if they have a removal spell, they don't get to do that. What are they thinking about here? It's a Fairy Time Raveler. That's a pretty good one. Bounce our Plague Stinger. Yep. Okay. So Berserk, still lethal here. They can cast the Teferi as well now. Sure. Not the Teferi, the Array. If we draw Berserk, we win the game. Because this will be a 12 power guy. And they have 2 blockers. Let's draw Berserk 1 time. Now, our opponent could have a Force of Will now. Many ways this goes wrong, but let's try and get Berserk and get there. Invigorate. That's not the one, unfortunately. So I guess we are black, black. Make this Plague Stinger. Like, Berserk is very lethal here. We do need to find it. Yeah, once again, feeling the effects of not having cantrips in our deck versus an opponent that does have cantrips. It's tough. Tough out there. Right. Our opponent doesn't appear to have a black source in their deck. A Wastelands. We're going to lose our Nexus here. Make them think about Morbid? I don't know. Alright. Again, Berserk can win us the game if our opponent's card in hand isn't interaction. No blocks from us. We can take 6. We can take 2 more lots of 6 here. But to kill us. Oh, I guess it's 7 actually, isn't it? Because of the Ignoble Hierarch. Yeah, so we can't actually take 2 lots. We are dead on the next swing. So, Berserk, please. Berserk and hope that our opponent has nothing. We're very clearly seeing the difference between Plague Stinger and Blighted Agent here. Phyrexian Crusader. This blocks. This keeps us alive for another turn to draw a Berserk. We can't pump it to kill the Euro, unfortunately. So counterspell this, then we have to block with a Plague Stinger so we don't die, and then I think we just can't win that game from that point onwards. Alright, we have a chance to draw Berserk next turn. Crusader is very unlikely to get killed by any of their removal. Another Ice Fang? Sure. So now we can still kill them with Berserk because we have the Invigorate. But again, we're trying to draw a 2 of in our deck to win the game with. Feels like this build, if we're not running Blighted Agents, oh, that's pretty bad for us. If we're not running Blighted Agents, we might need more ways of punching through, so the Berserk might be better. I guess we can draw Plague Engineer, kill all their Ice Fangs, block their Uro, buy us some time. Okay, so they can cast an Atraxa next turn. And we have to chomp block here. Actually, no, we gain 1 life. No, we don't chomp block here. Okay, they've seen the line to force us to block here. This is the only way they can deal us 8 damage. I'm not coming in with all of them. No. Okay, they ended up with the right attacks in the end. Very nearly didn't, but this forces us into blocking here, which does shrink their Uro at least. We take 2. Our guy dies. So we need to draw Plague Engineer to sweep out the But we're in a situation we have to sweep out the birds again, aren't we? Yeah, we're just dead here. We just lost because our opponent can fix their draws and we can't. We had them close at one point, but they drew quite nicely at the end. Again, they're a blue deck, we're not. So let's chat about this list. We went 2-3. So we definitely saw Phyrexian Crusader being a powerful thing to do. It dodges a lot of removal. So it's happily like dodging Source of Plowshares and Lightning Bolt, things like that. It's not always great in combat, unfortunately. Lots of little green guys getting in the way is a real issue. So that's something to think about. Also, because we don't have like a properly unblockable guy, we might need more Berserks in this deck. So maybe we're supposed to go up to like 3 Berserk and 3 scale up just to help punch through a little bit more. That's certainly a thing to think about. We don't really have the ability to find the right stuff. We don't have like tutors and cantrips like the blue decks have, which we're definitely hurting for because we're very much at the mercy of the top of our deck. I'm wondering if there's something we could play to fix that. Now, there are options we could play, like playing blue spells. Why be JUND when we could be bug? Play like, so instead of Plague Stinger, we can have the Blight Agent. But then why are we running black? Like, are we running black just for Phyrexian Crusader? That doesn't feel great. So maybe that's not the play. Maybe we're supposed to go slightly bigger and run some of these new toxic cards. Like the 3 mana 4/4 toxic trample proliferate guy. That guy's got trample, doesn't have infect. But there is a card that gives creatures infect. It gives it, I think it gives it +1/+0 in infect or something. So we could try something like that as a weird pump spell on some toxic guys that are pretty good rate. Maybe that's the thing we do. Proliferate is quite a powerful thing to do, especially if we can like take initiative off people, put counters on stuff. Maybe we're looking at more counters. Maybe we're looking at more things like Blossoming Defense to protect our guys as a pump spell. So there's definitely a lot of options and directions we can go. I'm going to have a little think about which ways are the best ways to go. Like I might return to this in the future at some point. I suspect we'll probably end up going down playing the efficient toxic guys, like having the 3-drop to go with our Phyrexian Crusader. So you've got two powerful things to ramp into with our Hierarch. Maybe we could even play like a birds or something, just have a 5th way so we're more reliably ramping. But then our pump spells do become worse because we'll have creatures that don't really get much from pump spells. So we'll have to sort of rejigger that one. We could always go into red with Double Strike. Double Strike is pretty good with the Proliferate Toxic guy because you get 2 hits. So you effectively get 4 counters off it. Obviously 4 counters isn't really that good at the end of the day, but maybe that's okay enough. I don't know. The Team of Outrage, I think, was the thing I'm thinking of. I don't think that's where we want to be. But it always has the Ferocious, or whatever it's called, that triggers off of having a 4-power creature if you've got the Trample guy. I don't know. There's definitely some things we could do here. I don't think this deck is there, but I think our matchups also weren't ideal. Like this Natural Order Bant deck is real tough for us to play because they play a load of guys that can block our Plague Stinger and our Phyrexian Crusader. They play a load of removal that kills these things. They have Wastelands for our Inkmoth Nexus. And they also have their own plan that can win the game in a similar time frame to what you're trying to do with Infect anyway. Like, they don't have the turn 2 wins. But they can pretty much win the game on turn 3 by like dumping a Progenitus or a Traxxas in play, which kind of is so hard to come back from. So I think we are a little bit unlucky with our matchups today. And we did get unlucky with not drawing lands and sort of getting a bit hamstrung that way. However, that is kind of the price you pay when you play non-blue decks. Maybe we need to find some better filtering. If we're playing more creatures, we could maybe play like Oath of Nissery type effects. Not that I think Oath of Nissery is particularly good, but there's a red-green Planeswalker that probably does something to do with poison counters. I honestly don't know because I kind of just zoomed over that one because I thought it was too expensive. But maybe that's somewhere we can go if we're having more mana dorks. There's various things to think about here. We could even be... No, I don't think we should be a Natural Order deck and try and Natural Order into like the Toxic Dinosaur. I don't think that's a good idea. There's definitely a deck in here. And if you have any ideas what it is, by all means, leave something in the comments. I'd be interested to know what directions you think would work for this, and if you've been trying something similar. Also, like and subscribe. These things are good. And why not become a member of the channel, or even better, a friend of the channel, and then you get to donate decks to me. So if you've got a version of this that looks really good, become a friend of the channel and you can donate it to me to play. All right, I think we're done with today. I hope you enjoyed this one. It's something a bit weird and unusual. I think it's good every now and then to just try something completely new and brew around it and see if it sparks any joy or you find anything interesting about it. I wasn't expecting this deck to be good, and it wasn't, but we definitely learned a lot of things on the way. All right, thank you once again for watching, and goodbye.